Hello and welcome to haQ attaQ. My name is Jakob, spelled with a K. I'm your host and you're watching a haQ attaQ episode. And in this episode, we're gonna have a look at Teenage Engineering's OPZ. It's a tiny little device and it's got loads of features in it. Now, this is not gonna be like a complete In this episode, we're gonna have a look at Teenage Engineering's OPZ. It's a tiny little device and it's got loads of features packed into it. I kind of lost my edge there. Yeah. You know, it kind of looks like a... So before we get into the actual tutorial bit of this video, I'm gonna answer two questions really quick. And those are two questions that I've been asked a lot. What about the build quality? You see, the casing, it's actually made of a, it's a polymer glass fiber mix. So it feels very different from other types of plastic hardware cases. I don't know what to say, but it's kind of, I don't know. Can you hear that? I mean, it doesn't sound like normal plastic. It's got this like dampened sound to it. I don't actually know if that tells you something about the build quality. It feels really sturdy. The second question is, all right, so there is an app available for the OPC. Do you need the app in order to get a full experience with the OPC? No, not unless you want to do graphical stuff. If you just want to get an OPC and start making beats with it, then you really do not need the app. And I would even implore you not to use it, especially not if you're beginners. Because what the app will do is it will lift your attention up away from all the information that the OPC is already providing you. And it will shift your attention over to the app. And suddenly you're gonna get confused over what knobs and what buttons you're twisting and stuff. It will constantly give you feedback, visual feedback through the LEDs in the forms of blinking lights, various colors of light. It always tells you what's going on. If you really want to get to know the OPC, stay away from the app until you get used to just using it as it is. Right, so now we're gonna get into the main meat in this tutorial, and I'll show you two ways of making 16 steps into more. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna show you is my most favorite step component. Now, if you're wondering what step components are, it's actually something that you can add on steps inside the step sequencer to change the playback in various ways. And there are 16 of these step components inside here. And they're situated inside these buttons through the shift menu. And you can actually see their icons here. Now, my favorite is right here at the end. It's called Trigger Spark. And what it does is it triggers drum notes. Then you might say, but Jacob, the sequencer is already triggering drum notes. Yes, but this does it in a very, very nice way. And I love it. So first I'm gonna play you something very repetitive, so please have patience with me. As you can hear, very repetitive, but we're gonna make these 16 steps sound as if there's 32 steps in here. And it's so easy. So we're gonna add the Trigger Spark component to this step. And instead of getting it to trigger at every bar, we're gonna get it to trigger at every second bar. So in order to add step components to any step inside the step sequencer, or even multiple steps inside the step sequencer, you need to press and hold down the shift button. It's this one with an arrow pointing upwards, and then we simply choose the step. So right now it's actually, glowing in red, but if I press it, it's gonna start blinking in green. Hopefully you can see that. Next, we just need to choose any of the step components. And I said I was gonna add a spark step component. And I'm gonna press right down there. Now, this one glows in white because I've chosen it, and we also have something else going on here. This means that at every second bar, this drum trigger will trigger. Okay, so now it sounds as if we are actually working with a 32-step sequencer. Now this gets even more interesting if we start adding more notes. So I'm gonna go to the snare drum. And I'm gonna make sure that this triggers only every third bar. So hold down Shift again, and then choose this step with the snare drum on it, and then press the trigger spark so it glows. So this one is in green now, this one is white. And then we choose number 3 over here. And if we listen to this, this snare drum will only trigger at every third bar. And what happens if we do this to the hi-hat? And then let's choose another sound. Let's choose all these 3 steps here, trigger spark, and make them do something every third bar. We go back to the snare. We'll choose this step, add a trigger spark, make it do something every 7th bar, go back to the kick. Choose this one, trigger spark, make it go every second time there. And let's listen to this. Now, since we're using uneven numbers like 3, 5, and 7, we're gonna get a shifting pattern. So we're not gonna stay into this 4 on the floor, locked into a grid kind of beat. It's gonna constantly shift and move the notes around. Now, my second most favorite thing is how you can get the patterns to play at lower speeds. And you can do that individually for each of the different tracks. So let's say I wanted the bass drum to go at half speed. I make sure that I choose the kick drum track first by holding down this track button and then choosing that. And then what you need to do is hold down Shift and press the track button. And as you can see right now, number 1 is glowing. Now we're gonna put this down to half speed and we need to press number 2. And now number 2 is glowing. And so now the kick drum track is moving at half the speed. Now, if we look closely here, we can see that it is moving slowly. Okay, so let's do that on the hi-hat track too. Press down track button and choose this thing here, and then Shift, track button, and 2. And as you can hear, the trigger spark step component is still working. Now I want to put it back to the normal playback rate. And you just simply do that by pressing Shift, holding the track button when you've selected that track, and just make it play at the normal rate. And that's always 1. Now you can of course remove step components, and you do that by simply holding down Shift, and when you see something green here, then you choose the step where you want to remove a step component, like right here, and it will show you with white lights which of the step components are selected, because you can actually have several step components on every step, making it very interesting for varying your playback, even though you only have 16 steps. This is a very powerful sequencer feature, and I wish all sequencers worked like this. One last thing. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to show you, and it has to do with the groove of tracks. All you need to do is hold down a step and then use the plus minus buttons here to shift it around. Now, it might be hard to see, but I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna do this and press plus. And as you can see, there is a purple light glowing there, and it's because I'm shifting the position of the note in the sequencer. And you can also easily use this function to adjust notes that you have recorded yourself live by just looking at a note, and when you see the purple blinking light like that, you can just shift it until you don't see it anymore, and it's gonna be right on that step. Man, I love the sequencer in this thing. Before you go, I've left a link down there in the description where there's a little clip, 2.5-minute clip of me in a piece made for a radio station. So it's produced by PRI, and I want to give a shout out to April, who works for PRI. Just tell me what you thought about it, okay? I thought that April did a good job putting that together because she made me sound smart. If you want to support what I do here on this channel, if you felt that this video was helpful in some way, if you learned something new, why not give me a thumbs up? In any other case, give me a thumbs down. And then you have these links here if you want to go support me in any financial way, or if you want to find my music, you can go there. And as usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it. That's what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna turn off the camera. I'm gonna go fire up Amazon Prime on my Xbox. We're gonna watch The Expanse. That's what we're gonna do. And I can't decide if I'm going to say expanse or expanse. It all depends on where you are in the world. And I have a messed up language algorithm.